Welcome, 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 everyone, to another amazing episode of Beyond Boardroom Business. I mean, it's about the ladies tonight, if you don't mind. I love entrepreneurship, and especially when we get to talk to the women about women so we can help inspire each other. And tonight's guest is just amazing. Her name is Michelle Glover, and she has so much going on for her. Without further ado, let me just bring her up so she could just share more eloquently all the different things that she does. So without further ado, let me bring you all and help me welcome Michelle Glover. How are you this evening, Michelle?
I am doing great. It is a great day. And I'm super excited to talk with you today. And I love how you're like, it's all about the women, which is what I'm all about supporting.
Yes. So who is Michelle Glover?
You know what? That's a great question. So at the end of the day, I always say, I'm someone committed to following what I feel God has called me to do, someone committed to following my purpose. And so that's really led me to multiple streams, whether it's leaving my corporate career to start Journey Unlimited, because I felt like as an HR leader and executive coach in corporate, most people were going through the motions at their jobs. And it's like, you should feel purposed at work. It's not just about working in a nonprofit or having a business where you should find that. And so in following my purpose, it was helping people discover theirs and still be successful leaders in corporate America. And then also in that journey of purpose discovery, it led me to chairing the Women's League of the Atlanta Black Chambers. I saw my own struggles with entrepreneurship when I was getting started. And it was like, how can you help create a path for Black women to have those successful businesses and have a supportive community? So as I'm going through this journey of life and discovering my purpose and living it out and being obedient, it's helping me and helping others discover theirs. So that's just a little bit about me. And the fun thing is, I was born in Utah. So not many Black people born in Utah, but military brat. My dad was in the Army. And so born in Utah, was the only Black baby born in the hospital that week. And it's just led me on many paths and journeys in life. And now where I am today in Atlanta.
Wow. The only one born in a week at a hospital. That's huge.
Right. It's so funny. My mom tells me that people came to the room to see what the Black baby looked like. So I was a trailblazer. Even before I was born, people are coming to see.
I know.
Crazy.
Before you had your name. How about that? Okay. You are so special. So Michelle, what does leadership mean to you?
For me personally, this is something I anchor in, and this is even what I coach other leaders. It's really being a visionary and creating, having a vision for what the future could look like for an organization, and not telling people how to get there, but getting people excited to support that vision and support what the future can look like. So a lot of leadership is about getting people to buy into something and want to be a part of it, to see its success and its growth and development. Another part of leadership is serving others. It's funny, I share with the Women's League, chairing the Women's League, and, I tell the team that support the Women's League is that we're servers. We are servants to our people to make sure that they're good. So sometimes, not sometimes, all the times, that means, we eat last. We get the table in the back. We want to make sure that everybody else is taken care of. And then, we can be taken care of afterwards. But it's serving others. It's getting people excited about the future. And the last thing is interesting, I'll share. It's about having fun too. I want to create environments, and I think leaders should create environments where people want to be a part of it, that they enjoy it, and there's an energy and excitement about whatever it is that they are pulling together. So
those are all great answers. And so you mentioned about your very unique introduction into the world. But what else have you gone through to help shape the person that you are now?
Yeah. I would say the biggest like game changer in my life was
Okay.
when I left corporate America to start this business journey unlimited. I
Yeah.
will tell you, there's two things I told the Lord I would never do, and here I am doing them. So the first thing I said I would never do is move to Atlanta. Like I was, from Columbia, South Carolina. I'd moved around a lot as a child, but I thought Atlanta was still too big, too much traffic, all of the too muches, right? So I said, Lord, when I was graduating from grad school, got my master's in HR, I was looking for jobs everywhere but Atlanta. I don't want to move it. 22 years later, here I am still in Atlanta and loving it. Even as we celebrated 404 Day a couple of days ago. And so another thing I said I would never do was become an entrepreneur. I never wanted to own a business. I was very satisfied in corporate America. I was, doing very well, had executive mentors and climbing the proverbial ladder, high potential in the organization. So I was very comfortable in that space. But, when I was at a point in my career where we were exploring next steps in my company and they were, trying to position me for different roles, it really got to a point where I said, these are nice opportunities, but what do I really want to do? Because I felt like I had kind of maxed out in that company. So I was like, do I want to look for another job? Do I want to look for another opportunity? Even though there were things being positioned for me, there was something in my spirit that was like, there's something bigger for you. So I decided to do something and not in my career plan. It was to take a step back and pray and say, God,
yes,
where do you have me to be?
Yes.
And I shared, never ask God a question you don't want the answer to. Like, oh, well, I really want you to approve what I want to do. I kind of have some ideas and I want you to stamp and approve it. But in that space, it was, Michelle, I want you to quit and trust me. I'm like, well, quit and do what? How's this going to work? What am I going to do? And I was asking all of these questions, right? Yeah. And so really, I took 3 months of praying and fasting because I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And it was like, you have to be obedient. So when I talked earlier about, being obedient and purpose driven and following God's plan, it was at that moment I had to really walk the talk. That's what you say you want to do. Even when it sounds crazy, are you going to do it?
Yes.
So so after tears and crying and fasting, I finally did it and left that comfort zone to really explore this path. And that was probably the biggest game changer because it truly meant jumping out without a safety net. Truly meant like, okay, I'm going to operate in faith. And it meant like, I'm going to surrender to whatever this is that I know I'm called to do and do it. And the craziest thing, Stephanie, I'll say is when I quit and I was like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't figure it out. But I was so at peace. So I knew that was something, okay, I knew it was time and it was what I needed to do. And then in that space of freedom and peace is when I started to develop this Journey Unlimited and this purpose-driven coaching and in the Women's League and taking on that from an entrepreneurial perspective. So that was a defining moment in my life where I said, okay, we're going to do it. And I can tell you, it has not been pretty, but there's no chance I would go back. Like this,
I know.
Bruises, scars, tears, but still joy,
I know. Isn't it wonderful? I love entrepreneurship. I don't like somebody capping my potential. I mean, I appreciate that there are people that hire people because everyone does not want to start their own business, but just to have that access and capability, I just love it. And so tell us more about your Journey Unlimited.
Yes. And so, and to your point, not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. And that is okay. Cannot emphasize it enough, right? Like it's okay. Corporate is not a bad word. But the question is, are you maximizing your potential in corporate? Right. So for example, I remember when I was, in my roles, and people would say like, happy Friday, happy Friday. And I'm like, and you kind of get in that habit, right? Happy Friday. And it's like, Friday is a holiday. And Friday is a holiday because you're living for Friday, because you can't wait to the weekend.
That's right.
And it's like, what if you were operating in your strengths and your talents, and you were in a company aligned to your values, and your passion, you were passionate about work, then Friday doesn't become a holiday because you enjoy the work that you do. Doesn't mean that it's easy. Entrepreneurship isn't easy, but you enjoy the work that you do. So I said, well, how can I create that mindset in corporate? So for some of my clients, we talk about faith and where God leading you, and kind of have that as part of the career conversation. And so for other of my clients, we talk more, generic and purpose driven, and where do you still find that purpose? And then how do you navigate the corporate waters and still maximize your potential? And yes, I've had, some of my leaders become, the senior director or, junior VP with a purpose mindset. So you can do it and be successful and have peace. And that's a misconception, that people don't think like that can't happen to me, or that's very, I got to find my purpose, I've got to take a step down. And I tell all my leaders, even if they are moving functions, we're not taking a step down. So even if you're changing functions, because we're going to leverage your past experiences to position you for that next role. So yes, making 30% more, 60% more, you can still make money and have a purpose-driven mindset. And so when I get to work with clients and kind of have that thought and talk about still the leadership aspect and becoming more impactful, and talking about purpose and storytelling, and kind of getting out of our own way with our limiting beliefs and inner me gremlins that are telling us we can't, I tell you, when we get in that sweet spot of we can, we do. And so,
yes, that's a great point that you just mentioned. When you hear the negative thoughts in your head, how do you decipher if you need to act upon it or ignore it?
Oh, that's a good question. So there's a couple of things that I'll say. One, and I'll share this activity with, your listeners.
Okay.
Because most times when we do things, when we do things for the Women's League, or when we plan events, I always want us to talk about a feeling. How do you want people to feel in that space? And we kind of navigate and create experiences based on, I want people to feel joy. I want them to be excited. I want them to feel connected. I want them to feel educated. But sometimes when it comes to work, we got to go on facts and not feelings. Wow. And that is because you're in a new environment. Let's say you're in a boardroom where no one looks like you, right? You're taking that promotion, that stretch assignment, that's a little bit scary. Then your emotions are going to take over. And your emotions, granted, are fear, scared, intimidated. And these are things that are not factual, based on the fact of the education you have, the certifications you have, the experiences you have, the accomplishments. Those are the facts. So when you're in those situations and you start to feel something of uncomfortable, intimidated, fear, you have to say, wait a minute, but what are the facts that got me here? And the facts are those experiences, accomplishments that say you deserve to not only be in the room, to have the seat, but also to have a voice at that table. Right. And so when people really struggle with the feelings kind of overtaking them in those growth opportunities, I say, let's list out the facts. Take, sheet of paper, a couple of sheets of paper, and list out everything that makes you stand out. Whatever your education is, no matter the level that you receive, the education, your experiences, your accomplishments, even if it's like, hey, the work that you do outside of work, your volunteer assignments, hey, if you say, I'm a mother, that is an assignment. List out everything that and your capabilities that make you unique. The more you start to list it out, you'll say, you know what? I need to just focus on the facts and not the feelings. So that is how I tell people, an activity that I work with clients when they start to feel intimidated. It's like, okay, let's take away the feelings. Let's focus on the facts. The more you focus on the facts, you'll be like, yes, I deserve to be here. Yes. Let me speak up. And so
That's great. That's a great exercise. And what do you tell your clients, or how do you help them get out of their comfort zone? Because you can't grow in your comfort zone.
Yes. And everyone says, the get comfortable being uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
that's really good to say, but it's
Yeah.
really scary to feel. And, that's why, with clients, it's important to have a coach, a business
Yes.
mentor, someone
Yeah.
who I push with love, but I hold you accountable and give you that safe space to try something new, and then you can like go back under the wings of like,
Yeah.
like this worked, this didn't work. But it's having that person who's going to push you with love and giving you that safe space to explore comfortably. And that's why people have coaches and mentors, because they want to step out of their comfort zone, but it's kind of scary. And so you need that push with love, to say, you can do it. Let's try it. And let's hold you accountable to actually do it. Right?
Oh, yes, that's a good one. So how do you balance, your personal life and your professional life?
You know what? I don't have my watch on because my battery died on my watch. So I have a watch, and it, tells me the steps and exercise. And it also tells me my stress levels. And I love, even in the craziness of the day and, at an event that I'm at, my stress levels is either calm or low throughout the day. Rarely does it move to medium. And the one time it moved to medium, it was when I was flying. And this is what kind of the angst with flying over the past couple of months. And so that's when my stress level moved to medium. But
understood.
So I was like, wait a minute. But, really the balance is I create boundaries. And I share this with clients as well. If you don't create boundaries for yourself, people will create them for you.
Yes.
And so, yes, there are times that I shut everything off. I'm never going to be team no sleep. I'm never going to be the person that's like, I worked until 4 a.m. and then I got up. There are peaks that may happen, but that's not going to be the norm. And I shut things off. And unless something's important, which most of it isn't, I shut things off on the weekend. I spend time with people who bring me joy, my friends, my family. I, work out, but I, meditate every morning, for my quiet study, Bible time, and prayer time every morning. And so those things help anchor me that I can find the balance. Now, is it always going to be 100%? No. But the majority of the time, that is the space that I operate in. And even when I say, like we had our Women's League retreat in March, and of course, that's a weekend of very busy, planning and executing. But Sunday, I said, is my lay in bed day. And I want to lay in bed. I want to, sleep a lot. I want to eat junk food. Did not work out at all, but it was my recover. And so even when I have peaks like that, I always build in a recovery day to recharge. So that way I can have that built-in recharge. So it was great. And, I'm thankful that I have opportunities to do that, but I'm just intentional. You gotta be intentional about it,
Yes. Schedule it in no matter what.
Say no. Most people, I don't want to say no. And people say no is a complete sentence, and it is, but sometimes that's not a comfort for most people, just to say no. Right. But you have to think, okay, but if I do this, then it's going to impact this. And so which one is more important? And having those, kind of balances where you can say, okay, I can, but then this is not going to happen. And so,
that's really great. I love your answers. So tell me more about the Atlanta Black Chambers.
So, Stephanie, when I quit the job, it wasn't like, oh, now everything is rainbows, unicorns, and sunshine. I tell people, number one, don't do what I did. But, just because you're following your purpose, it doesn't mean that it's easy.
Right.
And I realized in that space, I was very networked in corporate America. But when I left, I was like, I don't know anyone. Like, I wasn't connected. just a tip for those who are working in corporate: keep your external connections, your networks, cultivate those too. It's easy to get trapped in your job and your company, but you may not always be there. And you need to have a network outside of that, whether it's looking for an opportunity, whether it's collaborating with other people in your fields, whether it's, hey, then you decided to start your own business. But cultivate relationships outside of work professionally. So I didn't do that. So then I was like, I don't know anybody. So I joined like every organization there was to really build my network. And one that I really connected with was the Atlanta Black Chambers. And at the time, they were kind of going through their own restructure. And I said, this is, a good organization, a good place for me to learn how to be an entrepreneur, because I didn't know how to be one. Again, I was in corporate. And so I joined to learn. And then I said, I'm noticing that a lot of people in the organization, it was majority men. And I noticed some of the things that I needed for my own development, whether it's a community of women, just some more business building tools for me as a woman business owner. And I had some ideas, and they said, well, we have a women's league. It's kind of dormant, but since you have ideas, here you go. So I was kind of voluntold to take over the women's league.
That's cool.
Like, okay, why not? And so it was, again, important to kind of get the vision. What did I see the organization and it being? I truly think your business should be a blessing and not a burden. So it was like, how do we create generational wealth for Black women through entrepreneurship? And moving from that solopreneur mindset, like the solopreneur, like sometimes it's glamorized, like I'm a solopreneur. The goal is to be enterprise. And so how do we transition Black women from the solopreneur mindset to enterprise? And so then it was like, okay, now let's get a team of people to help, pull this together. And so we focused on 3 areas. The first one, it's 3 pillars. So the first one is empower. And that's the education tools, because you do need the tangible, tactical, how to do your finances, how to do marketing, how to do, business development. So those tangible business tools is part of that empowerment arm, where it's educational resources. Then the second pillar is support. Cannot emphasize this enough. Most times what gets people in business and entrepreneurship, and you can probably attest to it too, it's in here, it's in your mind, right? So you need people where you can have a community, you can, network, you can build relationships, they can hold you accountable, you can get accountability groups. And oh, by the way, we can have fun and have socials. And so that's the support arm, which is all about building a community for our women where they feel the relationships. And then the third pillar is mentoring. And this is kind of dear to my heart, because I say, if we have a group of Black women entrepreneurs and we're, focusing on building ourselves and building our businesses, we have to be equally important to think, how do we pour back into the community? And so we are young Black girls, right, to see entrepreneurship as an option. It's cool to see the Oprahs and the Michelle Obamas, but that seems untouchable. Like, that's so far away versus the people in your backyard that have a brick and mortar, the people in your backyard who have a multi-million-dollar business. That's someone you can touch and feel and learn from. And so, we're equally important in the mentor to give back to women as well as young girls who need support and mentorship.
Wow. Yes, you are so right. So let me ask you, as a woman, being a woman, and when you have to sell to the opposite sex, is there a difference from the way you sell to the same sex? Woman to woman as opposed to woman to man.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes. And the longer answer is, just understanding the relationship. But when selling to men, I tend to focus on more results and more, getting straighter to the point. So getting to the point faster and then telling the results. And with women, It's more of the building of the feeling that you'll have and then the results.
Yes.
And so it is understanding the audience, but I have noticed, getting to the results faster and the what is this going to do for me has been more of the selling strategy for men versus the women. They have to kind of see themselves in that space, kind of feel it for themselves and kind of picture themselves and the feeling that they're going to have, and then get to the results and then the sell. And so that's kind of the strategy that I've used for both. There was one thing I was going to add in selling to men, and I've noticed this. If you can get to the results fast, men typically start with, and yes, I'm generalizing, but what I've seen are more apt to say yes than women. Women are more apt to say no, like, I don't know if I can afford this. I don't know if I could do this. Will this work for me? And that's why getting them in that space of feeling and seeing and picturing themselves is so important, because their first thought is, but I can't afford it. I can't, that's not going to work for me. And it takes more of a sell versus men. They're like, okay, once I see the results, okay, fine. Yes, let's go. And so they move faster and with more kind of confirmation than women. So
that's really great. So what I take from that is men are results driven and females are feelings driven. That's my little cheat. So thank you for that. I like because I was always
the thing is, both of them get to yes, but it's just you have to apply a different strategy for them, which is fine. That's kind of knowing your audience, but helping them get to the yes.
So when it comes to networking, can you be sexy professional to kind of stand out, or should you just dress like plain Jane so you avoid the unnecessary conversations?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. There's a couple of things, and I don't, some wardrobe stylists may say, Michelle, you're wrong here, but that's okay. You have to be your authentic self, right? And be in spaces where you be comfortable in your skin, period, right? And whatever you look like on the outside, you say, Michelle, I like more form-fitted. Like, I like more form-fitted things, but it's still professional, but things fit to, my body, but I'm very intentional that I'm going into it from a professional standpoint. And so because I am firm there, that's how people approach me, and I'm fun and I laugh and I have a good time, but I give off a sense of this is a professional, setting, or this is a professional relationship. And I treat everything that way. So that way it doesn't blur the lines. I will say in terms of dress, sometimes I've gone to an event. I'll tell you this. There was an event that Vice President Kamala Harris at the time, she was having a rally. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, it's a rally. So, be more casual, jeans and a blazer and some cute gold tennis shoes. But they were real cute. Not wearing tennis shoes, but, it's a rally, right? Is what I'm thinking. And I get there, and it was more of a business event, and everyone had on suits. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
You have got to be kidding me. And I thought, okay, Michelle, you can either go home, you can kind of lean to the back and kind of stay in the background because you're not dressed, or you can be intentional about making connections. You are standing out because you have on cool tennis shoes and jeans and a blazer, but you can be intentional on meeting the people that you wanted to meet and connecting and owning what you're wearing. I chose B. I'm going to own what I have on. And I'm going to be intentional about not letting what I'm wearing deter people from, the conversations I wanted to have. I met some of the best people, some of the great business contacts, whereas I could have gone in and said, oh my goodness, I'm not dressed, and let me just stay in the back. So whatever you have on, own the space that you're in, period.
Yes.
That's what's going to shine and you're going to allow that to kind of be what people remember about you. And so, yeah.
Wow, that was a great answer.
Yeah.
I really love it.
I was like, what in the world? So then I learned that smart casual is business dress. I was like, oh, smart casual, like smart blazer, but casual jeans. And that's not what smart casual means. So just in case anyone was wondering, smart casual means business attire.
Yes.
And there's so many, like, just to kind of piggyback there though, there's so many now. I'm like, there's sophisticated casual, there's smart casual, there's business casual. I don't know what all own the space.
Stand in your own power is what you're saying at the end of the day. To stand in it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed this conversation with you. How can people find you?
Yeah, so a couple of ways. So you can always go to my website, journeyunlimited.com. Please let's connect on LinkedIn. That's like my sweet spot. I love connecting with folks on LinkedIn. So Michelle Glover, Journey Unlimited. And then, of course, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at My Journey Unlimited. So you can connect with me there. And you can check out my YouTube channel, Journey Unlimited. In the Women's League, you can always check at atlantablackchambers.org, and you can find the Women's League there. We're doing some amazing thing for our Black women entrepreneurs, and just really cool programs that we have coming up, and events, whether it's our monthly calls every third Friday at 8:30 in the morning. In the March, we had Dr. Eloisa from Invest Atlanta on. We have some great speakers every third Friday at 8:30. So if you go to the atlantablackchambers.org, you can find about the Women's League and all that we're doing to connect with us. But either way, if you connect with me on LinkedIn, Michelle Glover, Journey Unlimited, you can see all the things that I'm doing. And I share all of the events for both my business, Journey Unlimited, as well as the Women's League.
Wow, awesome. Well, I would love for you to come back so we can follow up with you and see what's going on in your world. And I really appreciate you coming out tonight.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for inviting me. And hopefully the next time we talk, I'll have a better answer on what to wear.
No, you did fine. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Take care. All right, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation. I definitely did. I learned from her. Make sure you check out Michelle Glover, and her website is journeyunlimited.com. Make sure you find her and just reach out to her if you know anyone that is in need of some coaching. She's definitely someone that has the knowledge and can help you out. So I hope you all enjoyed tonight on Beyond Boardroom Business with your host, Coach Stephanie. And thank you for being here every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my social media. And feel free to share with your friends and family. And if you know any true trailblazers, feel free to send them my way. In the meantime, stay powerful, stay prayerful, and stay purposeful. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Peace.